For those of you who missed my stream, I noticed that there's this bizarre thing called white dudes for hotties. And it's bizarre because white people do not talk about themselves as fellow white people. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I never heard anyone in real life ever, even on various internet forums, to refer themselves as white. I mean, you can have like some right-wing identitarians on some fringe corners of the internet, but usually people refer themselves as Polish, Romanians, Germans, Americans. You do not have like a group that calls themselves as white. Now you do have, for instance, people that are like us black folk or us Jewish folk or, you know, like various other identities. But very few people self-identify like as white men, you know? It's something that you are, but you don't go around saying it. So I found it interesting, and I wanted to see what the video is about. And I also wanted to see like what grievance do white men have that is different than everyone else? Like why exactly did they feel the need to segregate themselves into this position? And you have this guy talking about how, you know, there's a lot of problems in America with mental illnesses and such. And then he goes like, well, of course, like this also affects transgender people and Native Americans and black folk and LGBT and blah, 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 blah. Basically using words to say something, but without actually saying anything. Like, he used a lot of vocabulary, he used a lot of jargon, but at the end of the day, he just said the speech, you know? He filled on airtime, but without actually addressing an issue. And I see this all the time. It's usually like CEO and politicians that do it, but it is so common with something that I grew up, and I just couldn't put a name to it. I just didn't realize, like, why is it that this is so familiar? Now, I tried looking what Americans call it, and they call it buzzwords, but it doesn't really encompass the essence of it, and then it finally clicked. In Romania, we used to call this wooden language. And it's very difficult now to actually find sources from the communist period of Romania and then translate them to English. So I decided to use ChatGPT because it's actually a glorified search engine. And as you can see, I asked it, why did communists in Romania use wooden language, and what does wooden language mean? So the answer is that wooden language refers to a style of speech or writing that is characterized by stereotyped cliché and often bureaucratic or propaganda-laden expressions. It tends to be vague, repetitive, and devoid of any meaningful content. This type of language is often used to mask the true intention of the speaker, to avoid controversy, or to align to an ideological agenda. The term wooden suggests stiffness, lack of warmth, and artificiality. Now, in the context of communist Romania, wooden language was used as a tool for several reasons. The first one is ideological control. The Romanian Communist Party, like other communist regimes, sought to control public discourse and ensure that all communication aligned with the party's ideology, and thus wooden language helped maintain a uniform, ideologically correct narrative that reinforced party dogma and, more importantly, discouraged dissent. Manipulation and indoctrination. By using consistent and predictable set of phrases, as well as slogans, the regimes aimed to indoctrinate citizens. Isn't that weird, chat? Isn't that weird? The repetition of certain terms and phrases was meant to instill specific ideas and values into the population, making it difficult for people to think outside the box and be unable to express themselves. And this was, by the way, it was very true. Like, if you said the wife of the dear leader, you couldn't just say Ileana Ceausescu. You had to say Ileana Ceausescu, scientist of great renowned, worldwide recognized academic. You had to use like the whole titles. And it kind of reminds me with the LGBT in the United States. Like in 2016, it was the LGBT. Now you have to say LGBTQIA+. And in some cases, I heard Trudeau use even a longer acronym. And if you don't use it properly, they know you're not part of the in-group. Like, you're not part of the clique. Which is, I find it to be utterly fascinating, to be honest. Suppression of dissent. Wooden language served as a tool to suppress dissidents by limiting the vocabulary and means of expression to the public. By controlling the language, the regime could restrict the expression of alternative viewpoints or criticisms, as these could not easily be articulated within the confines of the approved discourse. This is very similar to what social media was doing when they were like, okay, you're not allowed to say that the elections were stolen, right? Like that was a terms of service that YouTube removed afterwards. But good luck expressing viewpoints that would include that, because the algorithm uses bots, and even if you were trying to tiptoe around the issue, you could get your video taken down. So basically, you may have something that people would want to hear, but good luck reaching those people if you can't make videos. This one is also very interesting. So, bureaucratic uniformity. The use of wooden language also reflected the bureaucratic nature of the communist state. Bureaucrats and officials were expected to use standardized language in official documents, speeches, and communications, which created an appearance of order and uniformity, but often resulted in vague and uninformative content. My fucking god, if this doesn't describe the American entertainment industry to a fucking T. Like, all the video game companies, all of the Disneys and the Amazons and the Netflixes, they use the exact same language. You know, do you remember during the BLM shit when you had like all these companies posting like their black background with white text, and they would say the exact same stuff without saying anything, and it created this idea of uniformity? And that's not just in the entertainment, it's a lot more than that, but it's where it's the most visible. Intimidation and control. The use of complex, jargon-heavy language could also be a means of intimidating the general population. By making official communications difficult to understand, the regime could assert its authority and maintain control over the interpretation of laws, policies, and directives. This is so true with leftist academia. All of the grievance studies, like the gender studies, the post-colonial studies, they say some of the dumbest shit imaginable, but they coat it in academic jargon in order to make it sound intelligent. And if you disagree with what they're saying, they will say, oh, you need to get educated. You're not smart enough, right? And they cloak themselves into this veneer of intelligence where they're absolutely dumb as a rock. I had a university professor once tell me that a smart person isn't a person that can say big words. A smart person is someone that actually understands something incredibly complex, but is able to use the most simple language imaginable to explain it to someone that's not a member of that field. Are the left doing that, though? Are they? Huh? But yeah, all in all, when you look at this and you apply it to the woke ideology, how many of these points don't perfectly match? How much of this wooden language that, again, you can find on ChatGPT, and probably you can actually find academic papers on it because it's not being suppressed, since a lot of people don't even know about it or don't know it exists unless you've been in Eastern Europe. You can find like so many similarities. And the reason for it is that this shit worked, right? Like this shit was very useful to achieve the 5 points here. So if it's useful, why change it? So what we're seeing now in a lot of political debate, especially in the United States, and with a lot of corporations coming out and doing the speech, this is what they're doing. Let me know what you guys think, though, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.